Members of the Gauteng Legislature are today conducting a focus intervention study on the gazetted expansion of Gautrain, in the province. This as they investigate the implications of the gazetted Gautrain expansion project and its viability to address Gauteng's public transport needs and its challenges. The first phase of the Gautrain extension, which was initiated in 2018, is proposed to cover the area from Little Falls to Cosmo City through Randburg and Sandton, ending in Malboro. SABC reporter Katlego Legodi is attending the story and joins us live. A very good afternoon, Katlego. What's happening where you are?
A very good afternoon to you, Nompu. We are 30 minutes towards the meeting that is expected to get underway at 2 o'clock sharp. Members of the Gauteng Legislature have already started arriving here in Sandton. That is where they're going to be conducting a study in terms of those interventions by the Gauteng Legislature, looking at the introduction of the Gautrain system in parts of the communities here in the Gauteng province. Some of them just raising concerns from the fact that this is emanating after that gazette of the process to just expand Gautrain into various communities. This happened in May, and it led to this process of just members of the Gauteng Legislature, where they'll be playing an oversight role today, speaking to also community members that are going to be affected by this process of the expansion. You can imagine that in 2018 already, Gautrain was speaking about the expansion of the facility into various communities within the Gauteng province, and that saw COVID-19 happen, and it gave them a little bit of time in terms of just working around how they're going to model this process of introducing a Gautrain into communities. Concerns raised by various community members on how this process, Nompu, is going to affect them, particularly the community of Sharon Lee that have submitted some sort of concerns, flagged some sort of concerns with the portfolio committee on roads and transport in the Gauteng Legislature. Hence, we saw the leader of that portfolio committee, Mr. Greg Schneemer, who's leading this process here, just taking it upon himself to invite the members of the Gautrain Management Agency, the community members as well, in terms of how they are concerned. Are they going to be affected by this process of expanding Gautrains into communities, and also inviting members of the portfolio committee to also come in and join in the process here today, where they'll be receiving presentations from Gautrain itself in terms of after that process was gazetted, what more or less concerns were raised, and how are they planning to roll out this process. We're looking at issues of infrastructure change that is going to be affected here. We're talking about monies in terms of how this process is going to be, a program is going to be introduced into communities, and how these communities are actually receiving the news of Gautrain being expanded to where they are or closer to home. Just concerns around also the financing of this project, and also how a Gautrain is more or less expensive, catering for the middle class. And now, as they're planning to introduce it, Nompu, to communities like your Sharon Lee, your Malboro in Randburg, and some sort of some areas, Little Falls, and how they're planning to expand this. Who is going to be using this facility if they are taken to Kokasi? Because we know very well that most of the people would rather opt to take a public transport, a taxi of some sort, instead of taking a Gautrain, because a Gautrain has been said to be expensive for over the years. But those are some of the issues, Nompu, that are going to be ironed out today as they push to understand the model of rolling out this process, and if it's going to be welcomed by community members that it is meant to cater to, as we've seen those concerns coming out of the Sharon Lee community.
All right. Thank you very much, Katlego, for that report. We'll catch up with you once that meeting convenes. My colleague there, Gauteng Legodi.